So far on this channel, we've talked about a baseball team with an astounding history of ups and downs on a quest to finally win a title, and a guy on a football team that was known for almost their entire existence for being absolutely terrible, only to finally find some success. Football and baseball go way back in the Sunshine State, but hockey is a sport that seems like it would be completely foreign to the area. I mean, when you think of ice hockey, you probably think of somewhere like this. Not somewhere like this. But, as the great Phil Esposito once said, we play indoors. So, in 1992, the Tampa Bay Lightning were born. And from then until now, despite a bit of growing pains, they've become one of the most dominant teams in the 2010s, having the fourth most wins in the league since 2010. Like the Bucks, who came out of nowhere to win their first championship in Super Bowl 37, the Lightning captured their first title a year and a half later, and since then, they've spent most of the 2010s on the hunt for another. And after all their struggles, they reached the top, as now in 2021, the Lightning celebrate their second straight Stanley Cup. Andrei Vasilevsky is awarded the Conn Smythe, Braden Point is recognized for leading the team in goals, but one man in particular becomes known for a very different reason.
From the Lightning, we have Nikita Kucherov. Media, please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll start with Joe Smith, The Athletic.
Hold on. Who let this guy take questions? I mean, he's absolutely wasted.
And then last year, they gave Vezina to somebody else. Number one bullshit. I'm so happy I didn't want to go back to Montreal, but the fans in Montreal, come on. They acted like they won the Stanley Cup last game. You kidding me?
You're telling me this guy is a superstar hockey player? This guy? How the hell did we get here?
Nikita Kucherov with a shot. Nikita Kucherov. That's by Desjardins through one. Score! A deflection by Kucherov, and it's time. Face off, and it's Stamkos holding, feeding Hedman, late pass. They score! Kucherov with a shot. Nikita Kucherov.
Without him, it's very likely the Lightning would never have been able to win their championships, as his elite level of play and game sense is unlike no other, whether it's by pushing for history as an individual or leading his team to greatness. The Tampa Bay Lightning would not be the same without him. Born in Maikop, Russia in 1993, Nikita lived a simple life with his family, with his father serving as a colonel in the Russian army. At a young age, he and his family moved to Moscow, where his mother would be looking for places to work. By some act of destiny, she found employment at a local hockey rink, and this is where Kucherov would begin to learn to skate. Growing up, there was no NHL presence in Russia, but with the advent of video sharing websites like YouTube, he was able to get a glimpse into the world of Western hockey. Now, many Russian players had already broken into the league by this time, and the late 1990s saw the rise of legends in Detroit, as the Red Wings would win 3 Stanley Cups in 97, 98, and 2002. On his wall, Nikita would hang a poster of his idols, 5 men who would shape the hockey player he would eventually become. The first was Slava Fetisov, whose NHL debut in 1989 would help lead the way for many more Russian-born players to follow. He had played in the CSKA Moscow team since 1976, but had wished to play in the NHL. However, Soviet officials heavily discouraged players from leaving their country. Eventually, he and 8 others were allowed to head to North America, under the condition that they still play for Russia's international team. He would play for the Devils until '95, when he was traded to Detroit, helping them reach the finals in his first year there. He would be an All-Star in '97, and after winning the Stanley Cup, he brought it onto Russian soil for the first time. He would also go on to win 7 golds in the Ice Hockey World Championships, and he now resides in the NHL and IIHF Hall of Fames. One of the men who went with him to America was Igor Larionov. He would join the Canucks in 1989, and would spend 3 years there. However, due to the Sovintersport, Russia's governing body for sports, taking a portion of his salary each year, he would play in Switzerland in 1992, and was left unprotected in the waiver draft, where he was selected by the Sharks. In '95, he was traded to the Red Wings, where his all-around effectiveness made him a key piece in their cup runs. And after he was briefly traded to Florida, and then back to Detroit, he scored the winning goal in Game 3 of the 2002 Finals, en route to his 3rd title. Sergei Fedorov began playing for CSKA Moscow at just 16, and much like the other men here, he defected in 1990 to play in the NHL, where he was drafted by the Red Wings. Steve Yzerman would describe him as the best skater he's ever seen, as he won the Hart, Selke, and Pearson Awards all in the 93-94 season. His ability to absolutely dominate the game through his speed and technique was rivaled by very few, as once, in '96, he scored 5 goals in one game, including the game winner in overtime. While goalie Mike Vernon won the Conn Smythe in '97, many felt it should have gone to Fedorov, as he led the team in scoring during the playoffs. Out of the 5, he has the most goals and points, as he was integral to their cup runs. Vladimir Konstantinov had a rough time getting to America, as he had signed up to be in the army, and despite the Cold War coming to an end, deserting his country would leave him a felon and put his family in danger. Through the help of journalist Valery Matveev and Red Wings Vice President Jim Lights, Russian doctors were bribed into saying that Vladimir had inoperable cancer, leading to his discharge from the military. From there, he and his family were able to take a train to Budapest, where they would then fly to Detroit. His style of aggressiveness and grit led to him being known as the Red Shark, as his role on defense helped keep his opponents off the board, as he put up a +60 in '95 and '96, the best since Gretzky's +70 9 years prior, and it wouldn't be matched until Johnny Gaudreau's +64 mark in 21-22. He was instrumental in neutralizing the Flyers' potent Legion of Doom, as they went on to win in '97. However, shortly after, he was involved in a limousine crash that resulted in a coma and lower body paralysis. He would never play hockey again, though the team would still rally around him, wearing a patch in '97-98 to support him and Sergei Matsakhanov, who was also in the crash. That year, as Detroit won again, Konstantinov was brought out onto the ice in a wheelchair to celebrate with the team, and despite not playing a single game, his name was still engraved onto the cup. The final member of this elite group was Slava Kozlov, who was also drafted by Detroit in 1990. In '95, he would score the overtime winner in Game 5 against the Blackhawks to send the team to the Cup Finals. And together with Fetisov and Larionov, they would utilize the neutral zone trap to a T, helping fuel the Red Wings' dominance. These 5 men would become the idols of many young aspiring Russian players, including a young Nikita Kucherov, who in 2009 would make his debut in the Russian Junior Hockey League. His first coach, Gennady Kurdin, helped teach him that the secret to success is to sacrifice for your partner. It wasn't enough for himself to be great. he had to ensure his teammates could flourish as well. Kucherov spent 3 years in the Junior League, during which he also debuted in the Continental Hockey League, where he struggled putting up mediocre numbers. Nonetheless, he was eligible to be drafted in 2011, although his lackluster performance led to his coaches telling him he would be lucky to even get drafted at all. The first round came and went without any calls, but in the second round, at pick number 58, he was selected by the Tampa Bay Lightning. He spent 2 years in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League learning the ways of American hockey, before making his NHL debut on November 25, 2013, where on his very first shift, he would make his presence known.
Teddy Purcell in front. There's a shot. They score! The youngster, Dmitry Kucherov, scoring his first NHL goal.
He would play 52 games in 2013, scoring 9 goals and putting up 19 points in a rookie season that was unremarkable at best. At least he got some playoff time in the first round against the Canadiens, where he even scored against Carey Price. The next year, he found a home on the second line with Andre Palat and Tyler Johnson in what would become known as the Triplets, as the three of them would prove to be lethal in the 2014-15 season. He would post 29 goals and 36 assists, totaling at 65 points, and set the franchise record for plus and minus with plus 38, as he quickly became a prominent player in just his first full season. In the playoffs, the Lightning would suddenly emerge as contenders, after finishing second in the division with 108 points. The first round saw Kucherov face the very team he grew up watching, the Detroit Red Wings, where the teams traded wins until Game 4, where the team once again found themselves down 2-0 after the second period. That's when the Triplets would spark the team once again, with Johnson and Palat scoring only a minute apart to tie the game, and in overtime, Johnson would seal the deal and complete the comeback. It turned out to be a crucial win, as even though the Lightning got shut out in Game 5, they would respond with a big win on the road, where Kucherov would put up 3 helpers, as they headed into Game 7, where goalie Ben Bishop would shut the door as the Lightning won 2-0. In the second round, the Lightning would once again face the Canadiens, but this time the script was different, as they came blasting right out of the gate, piling on 3 straight wins, as Kucherov silenced the Montreal crowd with the double overtime winner in Game 1, and Johnson dropped the buzzer beater in Game 3. However, Montreal would answer back with wins in Game 4 and 5, but Tampa would finish it off on the road, with Kuch putting up 6 goals in the series. In the conference final, they would face the powerful New York Rangers, led by stalwart goalie Henrik Lundqvist, who were eager to return to the finals after losing last year. It was a tight affair, as both teams had blowout wins and close contests, with Kucherov coming up huge in Game 3 for the overtime winner. Tied at 2, Ben Bishop would once again put up a masterful shutout at Madison Square Garden in Game 5, and even though the team lost Game 6 at home, Bishop would shut out the Rangers again on the road, as the Lightning punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup Final. Unfortunately, they would run into the dynasty of the early 2010s, the Chicago Blackhawks, which proved to be quite a challenge. A tough battle ensued in the first few games, with Johnson playing with a broken wrist and Bishop tearing his groin in Game 2, as he would miss the rest of the series. So the Lightning had to settle with some random backup named Andrei Vasilevsky. However, they would prevail in Game 3 as they took a 2-1 series lead. But alas, they would run out of gas, as they would only score 2 goals in the next 3 games, and ultimately lose their first chance at the Cup. Kucherov had played well enough, racking up 22 points, as he got his first real taste of playoff action. But coming so close to championship glory, only to fall short, leaves a lasting thirst in any athlete, and it's not something easily forgotten. Two defining characteristics about Nikita Kucherov were his unending quest for perfection and his absolute stoicism. He would spend hours studying not only his own game film, but his teammates as well, to get a better understanding of how they played. Heeding the words of his coach, he shifted his play to complement his teammates, as the triplets would put up mind-boggling plays in 2015, although it wasn't something meant to last, as declining production in 2016 led to the line being broken up. Palat would be replaced by Alex Killorn, and while the new triplets were able to put up solid numbers in 2016, they couldn't recapture the magic of 2015. Not that Kucherov was playing badly, he once again led the team in points, as he finished with 66, despite playing fewer games than the previous year. He'd even get some time on the top line, where he would eventually settle in as he sat on the right wing as a deadly weapon. He was complemented by his usual compadres, who were all deadly in their own right. From the other circle, there was the captain, Steven Stamkos. Known for his devastating one-timer, he got the privilege of getting the perfect setup from Kucherov time and time again. On the power play, the last thing any goalie wanted to see was Kucherov and Stamkos on either side. They would combine for 50 goals in this past season, with a Kuch pass leading to a Stammer goal being a common sight. As the team missed the playoffs in the 2016-17 season, Kucherov showed his other side, expressing frustrations, even saying in one interview that some of his teammates got their money and stopped working. He demands perfection of himself and everyone around him, and he would get very upset if they weren't met, especially early in his career. But it was Stamkos who came to his defense, standing up for his teammate, saying, "Kuch is a guy that cares a lot about the team, and he wants to win. You're never going to fault a guy for wanting to win or speaking the truth." At the blue line, there was Victor Hedman, the towering 6'6" defenseman who served as the middleman between Kucherov and Stamkos. He's been more of the setup guy for Kucherov as he continued to pile on the goals. In 2017 and 18, he helped Kucherov join Stamkos, Vinny Lecavalier, Marty St. Louis, and Brian Bradley as the only Lightning players with 40-goal seasons at the time. As an assistant captain, he's been able to see Kucherov's growth throughout the years, and how he's matured in his time at the top line, as he got voted the best playmaker in the league by his peers in 2024. Hedman said, "He's the smartest player in hockey, and his consistency year in and year out sets him apart from the other guys." Finally, in the slot, there's Braden Point, who came in as the new kid in 2016. He quickly found a home as Kucherov's right-hand man, as the two of them have such an incredible synergy. Like, man, they're even making no-look passes to each other? That's just unfair. They combined for 63 goals this past year, as Point would score 45 of those, and 51 the previous year, joining that 40-goal list I just mentioned. For the past 5 years, this combo of Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, and Point has become very powerful, even as they got older and people go down with injury. And despite everyone around him throwing incredible praise, the man himself remained very quiet, answering interviews very directly and to the point. It didn't help that he was still learning English during the late 2010s, as he was often visibly uncomfortable during this time.
I felt like kind of nervous a little bit because I knew that Syracuse were almost the best team last 2 years. They won the cup.
Yet even despite all this incredible talent, the team still struggled to get over the hump. 1 year after losing in the finals, they once again got on a run to the semis, getting past the Red Wings and Islanders before facing the Penguins. Where after going up 3-2, they couldn't get it done, as they would face a crushing loss at home in Game 6, and then shut down in Game 7. The next year, Kuch began putting up better numbers, as aside from hitting 40 goals, he also hit his 100th assist, 200th point, and 100th goal overall. However, the team around him struggled, as they lost more games than they won heading into the new year, and would fall all the way to 27, 25, and 8 towards the end of February. Despite a late run, they missed the playoffs by only 1 point, and Kucherov would have to wait another year for a chance at Lord Stanley. Going into the 2017-18 season, he scored goals in each of his first 7 games, becoming only the 6th player since 1943 to do such a feat. He was nominated as an All-Star for the first time. He was on the second team the previous season, but this was the first time he was on the first team. And coincidentally, the game was being held in Tampa that year. He even pulled this off against Braden Holtby. Okay, now he's just showing off, but he definitely earned that All-Star nomination, as he put up 100 points for the first time in his career. And oh look, there's Holtby again. Well, it's even funnier the second time. The Lightning were able to go on another run in 2018, as Kucherov put up 10 points against the Devils in the first round, and they easily handled the Bruins in 5 games. But him and the entire team were once again shut down in the conference finals, as yet another 3-2 lead was squandered, this time in even worse fashion, as they were shut out in Games 6 and 7 by the Capitals. Well, that was rough, but hey, at least it can't get any worse than this, right? Despite another disappointing end to the season, by the time the 2018-19 season rolled around, Nikita Kucherov had already cemented himself as one of the most fearsome men on the ice. He was rewarded with an 8-year, $76 million extension, and he repaid the favor with his most lucrative season yet, as he continued the push for history.
Here's McDonough, Kucherov winding, scores! Back to Stamkos. In front to Kucherov, he's open, he scores! Nikita Kucherov. As McDonough brought it up, now driving in point. Point in front for Kucherov, he scores! And just like that, it's 3-2.
In December, he put up 30 points, the most in 1 month in franchise history. Then in February, he reached 70 assists, passing Brad Richards and Marty St. Louis.
Hedman, Stamkos ready to fire, so it's Kucherov, he scores! Comes a 3-on-1, point, Kucherov scores!
On March 9th, he scored his 109th point, also a franchise record.
Here's Johnson, Kucherov scores!
He continued putting up points until the penultimate game of the season, where he scored his 40th goal, and in the process earned his 126th point. and he would finish with 128, the most points of anyone across the league since 2005. His monumental 2018-19 season represents the culmination of his ability on the ice, as he would become a master of deception. On this play, when everyone is driving the net, Kucherov slows down, gets behind the defense to get open for a pass from Stamkos, then spins around Jordan Wheel and skates to the middle of the ice. Here, as Wayne Simmons comes up to defend, thinking he'll take the shot, he forgets all about Vladimir Nemestikov, who Kuch passes to slap in an easy one-timer. The key to his success is his unpredictability and his mastery of working with his teammates. If you can catch your opponent off their heels, it's very easy to work around their moves and find holes. Even the great Russian Five are beginning to take notice, as Larionov has been watching Kucherov since he was 14 years old, noting how his ability to dangle around opponents is unlike anyone else. He had graduated from idolizing superstars to becoming one himself, and alongside other Russians like Alex Ovechkin, Evgeny Malkin, and Artemi Panarin, they've become the new idols for many Russian kids to follow in their footsteps, like a young Kucherov did all those years ago. To cap off this incredible season, he would win the Hart and Ted Lindsay Awards, cementing himself as the best player in the league. The team around him played their lights out, putting up 62 wins and 128 points, as it finally seemed all the pieces were coming together, and Kucherov could earn his championship glory. But it didn't matter. None of it mattered. They had everything they ever wanted, but I guess they flew too close to the sun, and they got burned hard. They didn't win the Stanley Cup. They didn't make the finals. They didn't make the conference finals. They didn't even get out of the first round. They were swept in the first round by the Columbus Blue Jackets, a team that had never won a playoff series in their entire existence. And it wasn't even close. It's without a doubt the biggest humiliation in franchise history, and perhaps the pinnacle example of an underdog upset in hockey. And the frustration definitely got to Kucherov, as he would be suspended for Game 3 following a boarding call on Marcus Nutivara. What did he have to say for it?
Do you think that the suspension was a learning lesson for you?
No.
Even despite this incredible season, his frustrations have continued to hold him back, as he took the second most penalties on the team that year, and most of them came from him just being angry at himself or others around him. It's as if the hockey gods themselves cast down their judgment on the Tampa Bay Lightning, dooming them to never get over the hump and engrave their names on Lord Stanley's Cup.
You know, obviously winning the cup is the hardest thing to do probably in sports, and you said after this series it wasn't your time, I guess, to be that team. Like, how can you guys kind of make it your time to go to what Washington did last year? And...
How do we make our time? I don't know. Play better.
As the 2019-20 season went underway, many around the league felt that Kucherov and the Lightning were simply not good enough, and they would never be able to put it all together to win it all. As he played his 500th game in February, he had a resume that would definitely make him among the best in Lightning history, but a Hall of Famer? It didn't seem like it, especially since the voters like it if you have your name on the cup. In early March, the team was once again in the middle of the playoff race, but a close 2-1 loss against the Maple Leafs left them sitting 8 points behind Boston. With 12 games left to play, there was still plenty of time for the team to make their move. Yeah, I'm sure you get the idea by now. While the MLB and NFL had the luxury of being able to figure something out to save their entire season beforehand, the pandemic shut down the NHL right at the end of their season, leaving many to question if the playoffs were even going to happen. As the months went on, good old Gary Bettman and the league had a solution: to introduce the glorious bubble. 24 teams, 2 cities, empty stadiums, expanded playoffs. Some would say this year doesn't count due to the circumstances, however foolish that may sound. But the Lightning were back in it, and they got to earn a bye while 8 other teams competed in the play-in round. When the seeding was all settled, the Lightning would once again face the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it immediately got off to a memorable start, as Game 1 lasted over 5 hours, as the teams played into the 5th overtime. Kucherov would record 3 assists that day, including the one that would end the 4th longest game in NHL playoff history, as well as the one that would end the series, as the Lightning ultimately got their revenge against the Blue Jackets. In the second round, he put up 4 points in Game 3 against the Bruins, as they once again handled them easily in 5 games, as they reached the conference finals for the 4th time in 6 years. There they faced the New York Islanders, where Kucherov would rack up 5 points in a Game 1 blowout, and with 8 seconds left in Game 2, he would notch the game winner. Ultimately, the Lightning would once again win a series in overtime, as they beat the Islanders in 6 games, and advanced back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Facing the Dallas Stars, the Lightning unexpectedly got shut down in Game 1, but Kuch would respond with 2 assists in Game 2, bringing his total up to 28, surpassing Brad Richards for the most points in a single playoff in team history. Over the next 3 games, Kucherov would put up 5 more points, as the Lightning won Games 3 and 4, including an overtime winner, to put them 1 win away from their first Stanley Cup since 2004. However, Dallas would stay alive in double overtime of Game 5, forcing Game 6. Here, Kucherov would put up his 34th and final point of the playoffs, serving the puck to Braden Point in what would ultimately become the game winner. After all those years of looking up at the men on his wall, Kucherov had finally achieved his lifelong dream, as his name is now forever etched onto Lord Stanley's cup. But even still, his thirst for more would never be quenched, as now the quest to repeat was all that was on his mind. But things would turn for the worse as he would undergo hip surgery on December 23rd and miss the entire shortened 2021 season. However, he would return for the playoffs through a very funny loophole in the rules. It's time for every hockey fan's favorite 4 words: long-term injured reserve. Now, when a player goes down for a long period of time, the team can put him on LTIR, which essentially voids his salary from the cap, meaning Kucherov's $9.5 million contract space could instead be used to re-sign other players. Combined with some time spent from Marion Gaborik, Anders Nielsen, and even Stamkos at one point, the team was technically $18 million over the salary cap. But that's just the rules, as the league even investigated the team and found nothing wrong. Sure, it's kinda cheating, but hey, Chicago did the same thing with Patrick Kane in the season that saw them defeat the Lightning to win the Cup. When the NHL proposed rule changes to LTIR, Tampa was one of 2 teams to vote in favor of it. Hell, now we even see Vegas taking advantage of it with Mark Stone. Nonetheless, as Kucherov took the ice for Game 1 of the 2021 playoffs, there were quite a lot of butthurt fans around the league. To make matters even funnier, he would score 2 goals in his first game back, as he would put up 11 points against the Panthers in round 1. Then, as the Lightning beat the Hurricanes in 5 games in round 2, Dougie Hamilton even got in on the action, saying,
"We lost to a team that's 18 million over the cap."
In the conference finals, as the Lightning faced the Islanders once again, the series went the distance, where Kuch's 3-point nights in games 2 and 5 helped lift up the team. And yet another dominating performance by Vasilevsky gave Tampa the win in Game 7 to earn another trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. Things got a little scary in Game 6, where Kucherov sustained what turned out to be a cracked rib, but he was able to return for Game 7, as well as the Stanley Cup Finals. In Game 1, Kucherov scored 2 more goals against Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens, the very team he first faced in the playoffs 8 years prior. He would tack on another goal in Game 3 as Tampa went up 3-0, but Montreal was able to stay alive as a Game 4 overtime winner sent the crowd into a frenzy. It was all for naught, however, as Andrei Vasilevsky, who had been on fire the entire postseason, shut out the Canadiens in Game 5 en route to winning the Conn Smythe, as the Lightning went back-to-back.
As time winds down here in Tampa, 5 seconds remaining, puck retrieved by Petrie. Lightning strikes twice.
Now, Kucherov has never been the type of guy to like interviews. He usually prefers to get out of there as soon as possible, preferring to be alone studying film. But on this night, on July 7th, 2021, Kucherov transformed into Party Cooch.
I don't know what to say. It's fucking back to back, and I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. And to be able to win this game is huge. Wesley was outstanding. MVP. I was telling him every day, Wesley, you're MVP. You're the best player. And then they gave it to whatever the guy in Vegas, the Vezina. And then last year they gave Vezina to somebody else. Number one bullshit. And I've been in love with those guys, and some ups and downs. And I said one time, you give us one time to win, we're gonna win twice. And that's what happened. And I'm really happy for those guys with Sammer coming back and, play the whole year and be able to play in the playoff. And he was outstanding out there, and he was really captain, and he was so vocal in the room. And you guys don't even know he was amazing. Like, I love Sammer. He's one of the best. And
This was the face of a man who'd had his dream realized. He was at the top of the league, and with 2 cups to his name, he firmly cemented himself among the greatest Russians to ever play in the NHL. Even as he went out once again the next year to try and three-peat, his personal growth was evident, as he only took 11 penalties all year. In his first regular season back since 2020, he would once again miss some time due to a groin injury, but he was still able to put up 69 points, as the Lightning returned to the playoffs once again. As Kucherov has grown and matured during his career, his early frustration issues has since been quelled, and now he's been able to become a leader for the other young members on his team. Facing the Maple Leafs in round 1, they would find themselves down 3-2 after Toronto eked out a win in Game 5, but Kucherov was able to bring in the tying goal in the 3rd period of Game 6, and Braden Point was able to keep the season alive with the overtime winner. Once again in Game 7, the team would come up big, as Nick Paul would score twice, as they beat the Leafs on the road to move on. Facing the Panthers once again, they would get absolutely crushed as the Lightning would sweep them easily. Yeah, no visits to strip clubs would be helping them out. But in the conference finals, things looked to be getting hairy as they found themselves down 2-0 against the Rangers. Once again, the team was able to turn it around, with Kucherov recording 2 goals and 4 assists in the next 4 games, as the Lightning won 4 in a row to get to their 3rd straight Stanley Cup final. They would ultimately fall in the finals against the Avalanche, but Kucherov was still able to put up 27 points, totaling to over 90 points over the last 3 years, a feat that's only been accomplished by Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. The following season, he was officially named alternate captain, and while the team took a bit of a backseat, he was still as dominant as ever, as he put up 113 points in the 2022-23 season. However, it looked to be that their best years were behind them, as the Maple Leafs would get their revenge and beat the Lightning in the first round. Kucherov is in his 30s now, and at this point, he could probably retire right now and still be considered among the best players in the modern era. But, unbelievably, his magnum opus was still yet to come, as he would craft his finest season in 2023 and 24. He opened the year with 2 goals against Nashville, and by the end of October, he sat at 11 points.
One-timer, Kucherov!
In November, he truly began to shine, as he put up 5 points against Ottawa, and then 6 against Carolina in a 28-point month, more than what he got all postseason last year. Only twice was he held off the score sheet all month, and while he dipped a little in December, he still entered the new year with 61 points.
Here's Stamkos again. Steven Stamkos, quick shot, scores! It's Kucherov again!
By the end of January, he sat at 85 points. At this same time 4 years prior, in his record-breaking season, he was only at 78 points.
More pressure here for the Lightning, back up top. Kucherov scores! Nikita Kucherov with a bullet!
He would continue his torrid pace, as in February he registered points in all but 1 game, getting up to 106. Another 5-point night against the Rangers and back-to-back 4-point nights had him matching his previous record of 128 by the end of March, with 9 games still left to play. It was then that he put up 3 points in 4 straight games, and with only 1 game left, he sat at 142 points and 99 assists. And in the last game of the season, he scored goal number 44 and notched assist number 100 to become the 5th player overall and first winger ever to reach 100 assists in a single season, finishing at 144 points. It's a mark that represents the epitome of the type of player Kucherov is, always looking for ways to help his teammates out and give them whatever advantage he can. Unlike many others in the league, Kucherov isn't worried about racking up goals. His 44 this year wasn't even the most on his team. But when it comes down to it, he is the ultimate playmaker and orchestrator of so many magical moments. It's perhaps because of this that he isn't really recognized as much as he should be. Sure, compared to the Matthews, McDavids, and McKinnons of the hockey world, he looks to be a step below them. And hell, he didn't even win the Hart Trophy. But at this point, does it really matter? Even as the Lightning once again fell in the first round, this time to the Panthers, Nikita Kucherov shows no signs of slowing down. he looks poised to hit 1,000 points, joining Steven Stamkos as the only Lightning players ever to eclipse that mark. He's basically guaranteed to go down as one of the greatest players in Lightning history, and maybe one of the best wingers of all time. Did the little boy from My Cop idolizing the men on his wall ever think he would reach this point at one day? Did he think he would become the man on the wall that all kids around the world look up to? Yeah, he probably did.